teens, sex, and sexually transmitted infections. In this program, we'll discuss the factors that influence teenage sexual activity and the emotional consequences that sexually active teens may encounter. We'll then discuss the physical consequences, which include teen pregnancy and the spread of sexually transmitted infections. Finally, we'll tell you how to avoid these serious consequences. Section 1. Factors influencing teen sexual activity. Many factors can influence a teen's decision to become sexually active before he or she is ready. 3 of these are peer pressure, hormones, and misconceptions about sex. When teens make the decision to have sex prematurely, they are often responding to external pressures. For example, a young person may feel that if many of his or her friends are sexually active, he or she should be too. Sometimes, one partner will try to pressure the other into having sex. Peer pressure is not a good reason to become sexually active. If a teen fears that refusal to have sex will result in the loss of his or her boyfriend or girlfriend, the situation calls for reevaluation of the relationship. No one should remain in a relationship with someone who does not respect his or her beliefs. During the teen years, the body is releasing hormones that cause many physical changes. Certain situations may cause natural physical reactions and impulses. However, a person can decide not to act on these impulses. Everyone has hormones. Everyone does not have to let hormones control his or her behavior. In the minds of many teenagers, there exists a highly romanticized view of sex, in which the couple that has sex is in love and will be together forever. Unfortunately, having sex does not create a magical spell that automatically brings about loving feelings in both of the partners. Although sex may make a person feel needed and loved, sex is not love, nor is it a healthy substitute for love. Many teenagers are simply unaware of the potential negative consequences of engaging in sex. Section 2. Emotional consequences. Young adults often make the decision to become sexually active without considering the emotional consequences. Teens may suffer from feelings of regret after having made the decision to have sex at an early age. Perhaps they were pressured to have sex with a partner who took advantage of their feelings, or very simply, they did not take the time to make an educated decision or to evaluate all the facts. After engaging in sexual intercourse with someone, a teenager may begin to have not only regret, but also doubts. Perhaps the individual was intoxicated at the time, and now wonders if he or she would have said no, or would not have made sexual advances toward the partner if he or she had been sober. Teens may develop reputations that are based strictly on their sexual behavior rather than who they really are. In order to make sound decisions about sex, young people must develop and clarify their own sets of values. Remember that everyone always has the right to say no. And just because a person has been sexually active in the past does not mean that he or she must continue. Section 3. Physical consequences. Unlike emotional consequences, which depend on individual situations and personalities, physical consequences are a potential factor in every sexual situation, even if protection is used. Unplanned pregnancy, and the contraction of STIs are both serious considerations. Having to decide how to deal with unplanned pregnancy is a traumatic ordeal. If a young woman chooses to raise a child, she will face additional stresses. A pregnant teen may quit going to school in order to avoid potentially negative attention. Later, if the teen cannot find or afford someone to take care of the new baby, she may not be able to return to school. For these reasons, teenage mothers are less likely to complete high school and are also not as likely to get a college degree. Very few teens, even with the support of a willing partner, are ready to take on the enormous financial responsibility of raising a child. Such monetary requirements as medical expenses, child care, diapers, and baby food quickly accumulate to tens of thousands of dollars. Without a college or even a high school degree, it is difficult to find a job that will support a family.
Teenagers, more than any other group, runs the very highest risk of contracting a sexually transmitted infection.
Also known as sexually transmitted diseases or venereal diseases, STIs are contagious disorders transferred from one person to another through sexual contact. Although there are various sexually transmitted infections, 7 of the most prevalent are chlamydia, syphilis, gonorrhea, herpes, hepatitis B, HPV, and HIV. It is important to be able to recognize the symptoms of these diseases and to be aware of the health consequences that can occur as a result of contracting these infections. Chlamydia is the most common STI among young adults. Chlamydia is known as the silent epidemic because there are not always signs or symptoms that the bacterial disease has been transmitted.
If males experience symptoms of chlamydia, they may notice pain and burning during urination and unusual discharge from the penis between 1 and 3 weeks after infection. In females with chlamydia, the symptoms are not always obvious, and this is a problem for girls because they often will delay seeking the treatment that they need. Signs of chlamydia include unusual discharge from the vagina, pain in the pelvic region, and pain when urinating. Syphilis is a very serious infectious disease, and it's caused by a bacterium. Syphilis is usually transmitted by sexual contact, but it may also be transferred from a pregnant woman to her baby.
Left untreated, syphilis will pass through 4 stages: primary, secondary, latent, and tertiary.
The symptoms of the primary stage of syphilis usually occur about 10 to 90 days after exposure. Painless sores called cankers appear where the pathogen entered the body, which is usually the genitals. The secondary stage of syphilis begins a week to 6 months after the primary stage and can persist as long as a year. A non-itching skin rash on the chest, back of arms, and legs is the hallmark of this stage. Females may develop this rash on the very outer edges of the vagina. Sores may develop from this rash, and these sores can give off a clear liquid that is filled with infectious bacteria. Other common symptoms of secondary stage syphilis include swollen glands, a sore throat, fever, and fatigue.
Two or more years after the initial infection, all signs of syphilis will disappear.